Start with a refresher on who will be taxed and by how much. The now approved measure will place a marginal 1% tax on high-earning individuals and couples and on businesses that generate more than $5 million a year in revenue. The plan for how to spend the money raised is flexible by design. The 10-year measure didn't dictate where the money will go. It dictated how that will be decided year after year. Metro President Lynn Peterson says the council is meeting with local groups that help the homeless tomorrow.
What we're going to be able to do is just tell them a little bit about what progress we've made prior to the election night, which is that we have started conversations with both the state and the city of Portland to figure out who can actually collect the tax.
But we want to point out, before any groups can collect this money, they'll have to put in requests through their respective county, either Multnomah, Clackamas, or Washington, the three that make up Metro. Now, stick with me here. Those requests will be considered by special committees made up of government officials, service providers, and people who have experienced homelessness. Each county's committee will then bring the requests they've approved to a similar committee at Metro, who will have the final say. And we're told all of these committees, by the way, all of these groups still have yet to be formed. That's going to likely happen, we're told, over the summer, and then the revenue will start flowing in next year. Here's what we do know about current spending priorities. About 45% of the money raised by this tax will go to Multnomah County, 33% to Washington County, and close to 21% goes to Clackamas County. Those allotments can change year to year based on need and population growth. It's worth noting voters in Clackamas County, the one with the least amount of money headed their way, were not on board with the tax. 53% of them voted against it. It was voters in Washington and especially Multnomah County who put this over the top.
It costs money to help people.
Johnny Fisher and Americo Hernandez aren't surprised by that contrast. They work with Do Good Multnomah, a group that helps homeless veterans across the metro area.
And this is my penthouse.
A few years ago, staff opened this tiny house village for vets in Clackamas. They say homelessness around here is less in your face than it is in Portland, but the need is there. In fact, outreach workers tell Hernandez it's growing in light of the pandemic.
They're seeing people who are experiencing homelessness for the first time, 50 years old, 60 years old, and they'd never thought this would happen, and they're getting help.
So in turn, groups like Do Good Multnomah are even more relieved that the measure was passed.
But regardless of whether it really benefits us as an organization at all, that's kind of a side thing. Bottom line is the services are going to be there, even if it's not us. An organization is going to be there to be able to use the funds to be able to help and assist people.
All right, Maggie Vespa joining us now. Maggie, I find it interesting that this has already been voted on and passed, but there still remains a lot of confusion about how exactly this tax works, who is going to be taxed, how they're going to be taxed, and we need to explain that, again, this is a marginal tax.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not on a lot of people's radar until election night. That happens sometimes. So again, it's a marginal tax, which means it's a tax on a person's income above a certain level. So I want to show you again the numbers that we showed you at the top of the story and kind of walk through this. This tax affects individuals who make $125,000 or more a year and couples who make more than $200,000 a year. So for clarity, let's stick with the individuals and just use that example. This tax affects a person's pay above that $125,000 mark, meaning if you make $126,000 a year, you will pay a 1% tax on the difference, or a 1% tax on $1,000 in that case. And that's what a marginal tax is. It's not a tax on your entire income. It's a tax on the difference or above a certain threshold, basically. So just wanted to walk through that one more time.
Yeah, I think it's worth clarifying. Now, this is going to be a substantial amount of money, but there's so much need that it could go to a bunch of different places. Will the public have an opportunity to weigh in on how this money is going to be spent?
They will. I mean, we talked about all of those committees in the piece. Well, those committees have to have their decisions approved by the Metro Council and by counties' commissions, the commissioners that we all elect. So when that happens, when those final decisions are made, there will be time for public comment, we're told. That's what Lynn Peterson with Metro told us. So that's good to keep in mind. And for those who are interested, just keep an eye on this progress, which of course we will too.
Absolutely. Maggie Vespa, thank you.